Hello and welcome to the show. Today on Encore, my guest is, for many, the voice of the new romantic moment in pop. Tony Hadley is with us in the studio to talk about singing solo after topping the charts with 80s icons Spandau Ballet. Tony Hadley, thanks so much for joining us today.
That's all right, my pleasure. That's kind of weird watching yourself on the screen when I was 23.
It's a little nostalgia trip. Now, you're currently touring all over Europe, singing as a solo artist.
Yeah.
How is it being on stage without your band? Is it different?
Well, to be honest, I mean, Spandau Ballet broke up in around about 1990, and we didn't get back together again for another 20 years. So I've actually been a solo artist for a lot longer than I was ever in Spandau Ballet for. We had two tours, one in 2009, 2010, and then 2014, 2015, Spandau Ballet went back out again, and we finished about a year ago. So, you know, as far as I'm concerned, I'm more of a solo artist than I am a member of Spandau Ballet in a way. I mean, although, you know, it's really special and it was lovely and everything else. So, yeah, so I've been doing my own stuff for a long time now, and making records and touring. I mean, this is a short European tour. And what we want to do is come back in the summer and start doing lots of festivals around Europe. So.
Okay, well, let's get a preview. Let's take a look at one of your live shows. This is your solo rendition of True. Now, for a lot of people, Spandau Ballet's music is synonymous with this new romantic label, but lots of critics say that your voice is a lot more blue-eyed soul. What are your inspirations musically?
I mean, as a kid, I was like a massive Freddie Mercury fan, Daryl Hall, you know, listening to Bowie and, you know, Brian Ferry and stuff like that. But also there was a massive influence from my parents with the crooners, Sinatra, Tony Bennett, Jack Jones, Ella Fitzgerald. So it's kind of like, in some ways, I mean, I've done swing concerts as well, and I love singing swing. My voice is kind of, it's slightly unusual. I don't know where I'll get it from. It's kind of, certainly not from anyone in my family. And it is quite unusual, but it's distinctive. And I think that's the most important thing about singing. It's not necessarily whether you're the most technically correct singer. It's about sort of having your own style, and I like to think that I've got my own style.
It's certainly easily recognisable. Now, I heard that when you were getting into music, when you were a teenager, you met the members of Spandau Ballet at a grammar school. Doesn't sound very rock and roll, grammar school. It's more studious, isn't it? Were you rock and roll?
We were dead posh working class boys. Yeah, we literally went to school together. We all, most of us, apart from Martin, the bass player, was Gary's brother. Although he went to the grammar school down the road. So we met at school, and that was it, really. And we were various different. When we first started, we were more of an R&B band, and then we were into punk. Punk was a major sort of influence on all of us, and then that sort of kind of morphed into the new romantic, the Blitz and the Billies thing, which was, and the influence from that really, a lot of it came from Berlin with the Kraftwerk and La Düsseldorf and very electronic music. And then there we were, dressed as Robin Hood, going to the Blitz Club with Steve Strange, bless him, on the door. And we were very much, when we started, I mean, to cut long story short, our first single was very much Four on the Floor, very synth-based. And we eventually sort of kept changing, and we became the band, I suppose, that everyone knows for True and Gold and stuff like that.
And the rest is
history. And the rest is kind of history, yeah.
Well, let's remind ourselves of the inimitable Spandau Ballet sound. This is Gold.
You could leave me standing so tall. Gold, always believe in your soul. You've got the power to know you're indestructible. Always believe in you are gold. On that night you're bound to return. Something I could have learned. You're indestructible.
sounds like you were always a bit music mad, definitely looking at music as a teenager. Had you ever thought of any other career?
Believe it or not, I wanted to be a surgeon. Before I discovered music, I'm still really into science and biology and things like that. And so I actually did want to be a doctor. And thank God, there's a lot of people out there going, so I'm glad he found a path into music and he wasn't operating on me. So
the history of pop music would have been very, very different.
Would have been very different, definitely.
Now, Spandau Ballet's time as a band together almost mirrored perfectly the Thatcher years in the UK, the time when Margaret Thatcher was the Prime Minister. What does this politician mean to you?
Well, Thatcher, I mean, she's a politician that people either love or they hate, I mean, as you know. And but what she did do was transform the UK, from really, we were the basket case of Europe. Everyone talks about the strikes and we had 3-day weeks, we had power cuts. And it wasn't the most pleasant place to live in. And I'm proud of my country, but, some bits of it weren't too great, when you got rubbish piled up on the streets and stuff like that. So what she did do was transform the country, and today Britain is the place it is primarily because of Margaret Thatcher. Mm-hmm. But she was an extremely diverse politician, extremely.
Yeah, and certainly synonymous with that whole new romantic movement, synth music and everything. It was a creative time, I think. That
was amazing. I mean, it was an amazing time. Punk was amazing. I mean, that was, when there was, kind of Britain was the basket case of Europe, but punk was amazing. And so was the new romantic thing. And then obviously we sort of spurned out of 1980 and become this global success. But it was an incredible time for us as young lads. Never a little bit older.
Well, since then, you've been very busy touring, recording, reuniting with the band. You've also had time to dabble in musical theatre. You played in Chicago at the West End. Is acting something you'd want to pursue?
I've sort of, to be honest, I wouldn't mind doing a Hollywood blockbuster, like loads of explosions and things like that. It'd be really cool. But taking the role of Billy Flynn, the reason for doing it really was because it had a live band on stage. And I'd never, ever acted on stage. So I didn't have any lessons or anything. I actually got really pretty good reviews, so I was quite pleased with myself. And it was a tough thing to do, though. It's a lot of things to remember. The dialogue, I was like, what? I used to wake up at 4:30 in the morning with the script going, what? But no, it was a great challenge. It was a real challenge. And I've been asked to do lots of musical theatre since. But I like doing what I do, touring as a solo artist, different venues all the time. Barcelona last night, absolutely fantastic. Paris tomorrow night at L'Ombra.
Yeah, well, speaking of this international career, you've played at some very prestigious international stages. At the San Remo Festival in Italy. You sang in Italian, I believe. Can our France 24 viewers...
I tried.
So can we expect a bilingual album in French coming soon?
No, probably not, actually. My French is... I mean, I said to you earlier that I'm trying to remember all my schoolboy French. So hopefully it'll come flooding back to me for tomorrow night so I can... maybe say a few words in French. I mean, the thing is that when you're English and you go into a shop and if you say, puis je vais and they go, you're from England. You go, because your accent is so bad, Haben Sie ein Bier bitte? You're from England, So, unfortunately, although we do try, we have appalling accents.
Okay, so we've got a while to wait for the Chanson Française album from you.
I'm going to try.
Okay.
One day.
Now, you've also taken part in reality TV, specifically I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here in the Australian jungle. That show is well known for its disgusting and quite specific, outrageous challenges. Is there one thing that you really couldn't do, a phobia?
No, I mean, because before you go into the show, you actually sit down with a psychiatrist and they say, come on then, tell us, what are your phobias? You're scared of snakes, you're scared of rats, you're scared of, I said, I'm not scared of anything. I'm not scared of heights. I'm actually not scared of anything. And I'd been in the jungle properly with for Action Medical Research, which is a charity group, and we trekked through the Costa Rican jungle. And there, I've eaten live termites and locusts, so I've eaten all that kind of stuff before.
Wow.
In the jungle and on the plains of Venezuela. And so when I went into this, I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here, it was like, yeah, okay. Do you know what? We had so much fun. I had such a laugh. Drinking a pint of mealworms, it's not a big deal.
Oh, so you'll be all right if you're stranded in the jungle. That's good to know.
No, I love all that stuff. Absolutely love it, yeah.
Well, when you're not appearing on stage or on the small screen, you also manage to make it to the cinema now and again. And your cultural tip for us is the recent Star Trek film, that's Star Trek Beyond. That's the 13th film based on the series. Yeah, they've made a lot. What do you like about this one?
Well, I've got to say, normally I go and watch kids' films because my two little ones, my two youngest, Zara and Genevieve, so I get taken to all the kids' films. But I was on the plane recently over to Santiago last week, watched Star Trek Beyond. I'm a massive science fiction fanatic. I love anything to do with science fiction and stuff like that. My wife, she thinks it's really boring. I mean, I took her to see Prometheus and she laughed. And I'm like, why is this Prometheus? So Star Trek was great. I love Star Trek. Absolutely love it. Great. I'll recommend it to anybody.
Good tip for us, thanks. Tony Hadley, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
And you can catch Tony on tour across Europe at the moment. We'll leave you with a clip from Star Trek Beyond. Remember, you can get more arts and culture on our website. We're also on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram. There's more news coming up on France 24 after this.
This is where it begins, Captain. This is where the frontier pushes back. What the hell is this?
I know why you're here. Why we are all here.
Okay, let's never do that again.